If we were to rely, as I did all of my life as a Muslim, basically believing that Mecca was an important trade center, then you would find it on many of the early trade route maps. And that's what we are going to discuss today. Hello, everyone. This is Al Fadi, and with me here in studio, Dr. Jay Smith, and we have been going through what we call basically putting it all together when it comes to the historical criticism of early Islam. We've been talking about the place Mecca, and today we are going to also continue this discussion. This time we'll focus our attention on the so-called the trade route theory. In other words, Mecca was so prominent to the point that you would find it as an important commerce center. If we were to rely, as I did all of my life as a Muslim, basically believing that Mecca was an important trade center, and the logical question is, then you would find it on many of the early trade route maps. And that's what we are going to discuss today. Dr. J, is it true that Mecca can be found in any of the early trade route maps?
Well, rather than answer that question right now, I'm going to pose another scenario real quickly. You're a Muslim. You know that Mecca has been around since Adam and Eve. You know that Abraham lived there. You know that it is the oldest city in history, the oldest inhabitant for humankind. And yet you can't find any reference to it. So you have a problem, because you've got to persuade the world, right, as a Muslim, that this is an important city. Muslims didn't know what to do. So in the last century, a man named Montgomery Watt came to their help. Montgomery Watt said, I'll tell you what happened. Why did Mecca become important? Why is it's on the trade route? There's a reason for it. And this is what he said. So this is what known as the trade route theory. Now, when I was going to school, when I was studying under Gerard Hotting and all the rest, when I was studying under Dudley Woodbury before that, I'd always heard about the trade route theory. The trade route theory rescued Muslims in the 1900s, in the last century. It really rescued them. They needed this guy from Scotland to help them out, because he suddenly showed that this is the reason we don't hear about Mecca beforehand. And this is it. So let's look at a map. Let's go to the slide, and I'll just walk you through it. This is not the first time you've seen it, Al Fadi, but I want you to react to it once we go and unpack it. So there is the 7th century Arabia. This is a redacted map looking back at 7th century, recreating what we think today from what all the Standard Islamic Narrative tells us. The Standard Islamic Narrative tells us this is what's going on there in the 7th century, right? There you can see all the trade had to come from China and from India and from Asia. It had to come through India. There you can see India on the right side of the map. It couldn't have gone north because of the mountains. Can you see the mountains there?
Yes.
You can see the Hindu Kush and you can see the Himalaya mountains. Therefore, it had to come this route. So let's just go and put the era. It had to come from the western coast of India up through the Straits of Hormuz over into the Persian Gulf. All right? And from the Persian Gulf, it was taken off board to
Basra.
Well, Basra didn't exist. Here's the irony of it: Basra didn't even exist back then. This is what's ironic. There was no Basra. Basra is not
another port.
Another port called something or whatever, and then from there it was then sent across Iraq, across Jordan, across what is today Israel,
through the Fertile Crescent, technically speaking,
and over into the Mediterranean. So that's why, and once it got to the Mediterranean, it was put on ship and went all over Europe and the rest of the world, the civilization at that time. So that's the trade route theory. However, we do know that in the 5th century there was a problem between the Persians and the Byzantine Empire. So the Persians were known as the Sassanids. So let's put them up there. So here comes the Sassanids, or Sassanids either way, and here come the Byzantines. The Sassanians were basically Persian. They were from what is today Iran, and the Byzantine Empire were the Europeans. At that time, Turkey, where I have their name, was under their control. They started warring at each other. They were the two big superpowers of that time. Because they started warring, that shut down the trade going through the Persian Gulf.
Right. There's a lot of risk involved now.
Violence, shutting it down. So let's just take away that. No longer could they use that route.
Right.
So what Montgomery Watt said is, So they couldn't use that route. So what did they do instead?
They go to Yemen.
They go to Yemen. They go to Aden. And they come across the Arabian Sea, go boop, and go to Aden, and right straight up. There you go, right up the Western Plateau, all the way up to Gaza in the north. 1,250 miles overland. Now, Dr. Patricia Corona, who's a historian, reads and writes 15 languages, looked at this, and she read the trade route theory, and she had always been birthed on it and also been studied it. So she said, there's a problem here, folks. So she said, take a look at it carefully. There are two problems, actually. Here's the first problem. Why was it you would be coming across the Arabian Sea and you transship the goods there in Aden and you go up to Taif there, and then why in the world would you come down to Mecca? Can you see the detour on the map? I'm just showing it to you.
And also, I mean, as someone who lived there, the mountains down south
hold on to that.
near Yemen.
Don't say anything right now. We're going to show you that. That's yet to come.
You wanted my opinion, right?
I know, but I don't want that opinion yet. Hold on to it. You're champing at the bits, and I can see you want to get to this because that's really exciting because there's two other pictures I want to show you that actually support what you're saying. But nonetheless, there's a detour, and then going down to Mecca, they then have to come up then to Yathrib, which is the archaic name for what is today Medina, and then from Yathrib they would go on up to Gaza.
That's right.
See the detour there? Can you see it? Well, she pointed this out. Why hadn't anybody looked at a map? That's a detour. You're going off the Western Plateau. You're going down to Mecca. You're coming back up to Yathrib, and then you end up. That doesn't make sense. Why didn't they just go straight from Taif? There's Taif. Why didn't they just go straight from Taif to Yathrib, staying on the Western Plateau?
Right.
That was the first problem. The second problem she's noted too that no one else had noticed, and that is you're on boats, right? If you're on boats coming across the Arabian Sea, why don't you just stay on the boats?
Because you have the Red Sea.
Exactly. You've got the Red Sea.
It is cheaper, it is safer, and it's quicker.
It's what we do today.
Right.
We send everything by boats because it's not only cheaper, you can also protect your goods better because you can see in the distance of any ship coming to you. There's no rocks, there's no hills, and no sand dunes where they can hide behind and they can attack you. You can see them long ways in the distance, and therefore you can protect yourself and be ready for battle, if there is any battle. But it's also, you don't have to pay. You don't have to worry about camels. You don't have to feed camels. You don't have to water camels.
Where is the water? I mean, that's the question. $1 million question for the camels.
Camels don't need as much water too, obviously, but still you still have to water and feed them. You don't have any of that. All you need is a sail. And it pushes it along. It's free. Right. It's the freest way of propulsion. That's why we use huge ships today,
right?
Because you can take the largest amount of goods. She found that if you only go 50 miles by land, it would cost the same amount as 1,250 miles by sea. That's what is the difference. So she said, hold on a minute. Let's find out if this is true. So what she did now, she reads and writes 15 languages. She knew all the languages. She could go back to all the reports. She went to the trading doctrines from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, right up until the 7th century. And this is what she found. They did take the goods, not up the Persian Gulf. They did come across the Arabian Sea. There's the Green Arrow. And they went, possibly they did go to Aden. No one's suggesting they didn't stop to get provisions at Aden. But they didn't take off any goods there for a very good reason. They went right there to Agilis. Agilis is the place they went to, which is in Eritrea today. And from Agilis, they went right up the Red Sea, up to Petra there, and from Petra to Gaza. And then from Gaza or Petra, they went right out and to all the different directions in the Mediterranean Sea. That is what the trade, really, the historical trade route tells us. The land trade route never went through Mecca.
Yeah, and this is history. That's what history is telling us. And once again, we're struggling with Petra now as opposed to Mecca.
Now, why did it go up to, why did the trade route not go down to Mecca? Let's get back to your point. So I'm going to show this map here. Take a look at this map here. Do you notice this? Remind ourselves that Mecca is in relation to other known cities in Arabia. Let's look and see where that trade did go, if this was correct. So let's look at those cities where we do know the trade went. These are the cities that are well known on the trade route that Montgomery Watt did talk about. And of course, the first one is Aden. So there's Aden. I'll put a star there. And then it went from there to Sana'a. There's another star. And from there, it went up to Najran. And see where it's going as I'm going up the map? You notice what it's following? Can you see? This is a topographical map looking down on the topography. What is it following? It's following what they call the Western Plateau. And from there, it goes up to Taif. There's Taif right there. And from Taif, it makes stance region, went right up to Yathrib. And then from Yathrib, it went up to Tabuk, and from Tabuk up to Petra, and then Gaza in the north. That is the trade route, and it all follows along the Western Plateau.
Right. and I want to point something here. This type of map is extremely important. Why? Because it does show you bodies of water in the dark blue. It shows you desert in the yellow, and sometimes shades of green, meaning there is some vegetation. I want people to show me, do they see any vegetations on the Arabian Peninsula side? Do they see any rivers, any streams, anything like that that are significant that will appear in
No
these
rivers,
satellite
no
images?
streams, but there is vegetation today in the 21st century.
Today
because of
is,
solid
we're talking
desalinization.
about, even today, when you look at it, it's scattered because not all of it. I mean, it's a desert. I live there. I know the environment.
Okay. Now, where do you think Mecca is on that? Well, you know because you've lived there.
It's going to be between Taif and Yathrib.
There it is.
Yeah.
Take a look. Is it on the Western Plateau?
No, it's not.
It's not on the West Plateau. Let me show you another map. Here's a better one. This one is even more specific. So this is a topographical map looking
Right.
just at Arabia, not at Yemen or not
Exactly.
at Jordan in the north, Jordan or Israel in the north. So here is Aden there. There's Aden. That's in Yemen. So is Sana'a in Yemen. But can you notice Najran? Now look at it. You can see the lines at the top of the ground. Look and see exactly where the trade route did go. Up to Taif, and then up to Yathrib, then up to Tabuk, and on up to Petra in the north, and then the Gaza. Where do you think Mecca is?
Again.
There is Mecca.
Exactly.
Can you see now? It is 3,000 feet lower down. You have to come down 3,000 feet to Mecca, then go back up 3,000 feet to get to Yathrib. There is nothing there in Mecca to support any caravans.
Absolutely. I mean, when we go to Taif, we would drive up a mountain to get there.
See, today, and those are nice big roads where you don't even notice it. But if you have camels that need to be watered and fed, why would you go down to a place that had no water and no food, no fertilization, no vegetation, and then come all the way back up to Yathrib? Now, that pretty much supports what Patricia Crone found. However, she made a mistake. She made a huge mistake. And we're going to go into that next.
Maybe, yes, we will hold off on this because we want people to come back and watch the continuation of this. Thank you, as always. And I want to welcome any of your comments, of course, about these maps. And some of you, by the way, did contribute to us digging deeper into additional maps for clarification. And I know Dr. J mentioned to me about some of your comments as well that led into that, which we're always open for any constructive advice or criticism. We're not here to try to attack. We're not here to try to invent or make false claims. If you don't believe anything we're saying, by the way, we give you the sources, you go and investigate it, and we welcome any of your comments when it comes to that. Until next time, have a blessed day.